Thank you so much for coming in here today. This has just been a tremendous morning. I've enjoyed it so much more than probably any conference I've been to this year. And Rachel, thank you for setting us up with this framework at the beginning of how a story works. And Wendy, thank you for a new remote control. All right. Yes, I recognize this one. Yeah, looks good. Don't worry, we'll figure it out. Stories. Without you saying that, I would have said the story is the what, right? And I think it's easy for us to think through, but as you mentioned that, the things that get me motivated, when I saw that car crash in the Volkswagen, wherever you are, Matthew, I got teary-eyed. You know, my limbic system was activated, if that's the right term. The why, the how, the what is what we all need to be doing for telling stories. And you see, through all of the stories that you guys are relating, and Matthew and everything else we've been seeing, very, very powerful organizations are telling amazing stories, including the why and the how and the what. And yet, we still are focused on a lot of these traditional sustainability stories. And I'll use that term sustainability because I'm really going to be speaking to the sustainability experts. The people who are within our room, the people who are professional sustainability people within our organizations. And we talk a lot about the huge growing population or global warming issues as a planet, the issues around the materials that are within our products, all of the waste issues that are going on. These are still the topics of our reports. And they should be, right? I mean, because these are the important issues. These are the things that infuriate us, that our planet is still dealing with the inefficiencies and the inadequacies of our business models. And so this what is kind of the why still, right? I was not familiar with the power of why. I'm going to watch that after this. But if the power of why is what is driving us in this direction, I would say that what I just like to remind us and talk specifically to the sustainability managers here is the importance of how. If we see the evidence, we see these campaigns, we hear these stories right now about all of the great things that are going on, we see the statistics that Jacqueline was showing around how Generation Y is preferentially buying these products. We hear Matthew tell us that the sustainability people are being invited into the boardroom, invited into the conversation with the marketing professionals of the world. That's our job, and we need to understand how to make that happen. If you are not making that the number one imperative in your role, in your organization, you're pointing in the wrong direction. These issues here are critical, and they will stay with us, but if we can't translate them into how, if we can't motivate our organization, if we can't motivate all of these wonderful people that we work with every day who really do share these same value systems. That's the truth. It's not that the CFO only cares about money. It's not that the HR person only cares about the rules and regs. We all have these values, but we also live inside of an organization that has a flow, it has a process, it has a structure, it's a way that a company works. And so these stories that we're hearing, I think a lot of the stories of the organizations that are up here right now are the companies that have begun to understand that, and they've begun to bring it into the way that they operate. And so I just want to have one very simple message around business value. And yeah, I will play the central casting role of the American here, and I'll talk about money. Business value is a language, it's a semantic, it's a mechanism by which you communicate internal to the organization. And every time I talk about global warming potential, by the way, ThinkStep is a German company, and I can talk about decimal points all day long, right? We've got all sorts of detail and structure and squareness. Sorry, my name is Heckman, I got some German roots in me too. But those are all important details, but when I'm trying to motivate someone, when I'm trying to bring an organization to the point where they can actually make the changes and do the work that is necessary to allow these stories to be told, I'm not going to use those words. I'll use those words when I need to, but I want to talk about business value. Why? It's because it's what everybody in the room already is paying attention to, right? These are the sorts of things that we snap to attention when we have to do this because we're told to. And it's not a bad thing at all. It's the fiduciary responsibility. It's what our shareholders request of us. It is how an organization moves forward. More money, less cost, better brand, lower risk. That's all you got to know. Now you have an MBA, MBA 101. Just focus on those 4 concepts and ask yourself, those things that you want to get done, the things that you want to try to accomplish, that you're not getting the resonance, you're not getting the buy-in, you're not getting the people within your organization to agree with, how is it driving revenue, brand, cost, and risk in my organization? Because I guarantee you it is. I guarantee you it is. And if you can't find it, go and talk to people. Talk to people who have had similar experiences. Talk to these colleagues that you're meeting right here, because we're all going down this exact same path. How do we translate this into language that makes the rest of the organization resonant? Very quick little lesson on this. It's the power of stories. I got to tell you, when I saw the theme for this conference, I'm like, telling great stories. How do I tie this in? It's an awesome theme. Everything we do in trying to drive this sustainability improvement path comes from stories. Start with a screening conversation. What are we doing? Where are these impacts? What's happening? Do you guys have any stories? I did a conference once or a workshop with an airport. We're talking about saving energy or whatever it was, and there's this guy who is a maintenance guy. And he's like, well, why don't we turn off the lights on the runways? And I'm like, okay, I'm no expert, but I think they're important, right? It seems like that's... And he looks at me, he's like, well, no, between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m., we don't need them. It's actually, we can't fly anybody in and out, and but we don't turn them off. And we all looked at each other like, did anybody else really know that? And we did the math, and it was actually a big number, right? It was a big savings, and it came because, to tell you the truth, we had opened up the opportunity to the people within the organization to tell stories, right? Screen those things. The second you screen them, then scope them up. Say, well, how else can I get them to be more important? How can they apply across other parts of our business? How can we take this out and do something more useful across both the scope and then the scale out into the other areas of the business? Just have that conversation with your business over and again so that you can take their knowledge. Us sustainability experts, I'll raise my hand, we love to be smart. We love to have multiple syllable words, but your organization is smarter, and you need to be an enabler. You need to be the people who can build them up and take their stories out into the world. When we do workshops around the how, these are the sorts of things that come out of it. We ask mainly one big question. How do the activities that you're talking about contribute to value? So forget about the details. Forget about exactly, oh, well, you know what, it's probably a little confounded with something else we're doing. Just ask for, is it going to contribute to? And you'll hear stories, and this is kind of averages. People say, yeah, I think that this is going to contribute to substantial growth in sales. And use this sort of approach to say, all right, if we think it is, what should we do about it? Again, the how. Because that how will turn into a what. The what is the accomplishment. It's the identification of that stakeholder group who really loves things. Rose hip oils, I'm going to go find some of those things and take them home. All of a sudden it's like, wow, this is an effect that I really want. It comes from the stories. So I'll leave us with this. I got some great panel members here. There is this paradigm shift. The sustainability conversation is not an area just for experts anymore. It is for the entire organization. And view yourself as an enabler. Bring people together, tell stories, use it to drive your organization forward. Thanks a lot.